So what's up? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make logos. We're going to use a lot of different type of objects. We're going to use text, images, shapes. We're going to use all these to make logos. I'm going to start off with text and start off with the text SAV for Savannah, because that's what this logo is going to be about. You're going to see this font throughout the video because I like this font. We're going to use 4 tools. We're going to use rasterization, image tracing, pathfinding, and also clip and mask. So right now I'm just positioning the images, position the font how I want it, because you can't manipulate the text. So as long as you see a cursor or you can change the text, it's no good, no bueno. We don't want that. So we gotta handle that. So the first tool we're going to use is rasterize. When you rasterize an object or a group of objects, you basically compile it into one image. You can't manipulate them individually anymore. It's just one solid object. And after we rasterize that image, we're going to go and take it into image tracing. Alright, image tracing. Image tracing is basically what it sounds like. If you were to take a white sheet of paper and trace over something to copy it, that's what image tracing is. When we image trace this SAV, this font, it's going to outline the individual letters and it's going to eliminate all the white space in the background. You can image trace with multiple colors. It still does the same thing. Each color is going to outline it, so you can manipulate that object or just that color, that shape with that specific color in it. It just so happens that in this object, this is one color, but you will see image trace with multiple colors along the line. After we do an image trace, each individual color becomes an object. So since there's space in between the letters, now each individual letter is its own object instead of just one image. So it's kind of the opposite of rasterization. We can manipulate each letter freely if we want to. So I have SAV as an image, have it as a vector individually. What I'm going to do is bring in another object. I'm going to create a rectangle, but every time you create a new object, that object is actually positioned over the old object. So in order to move that object, we have to lower it down on the layer panel. What I'm going to do is change this rectangle to red, so you can see that when I change its order, you can actually see SAV on top of the red rectangle, and it operates as a background. Now anytime you want a picture sticking out of an object, like out of a circle, out of a square, rectangle, whatever, the order is actually important. So if you're going to use different objects or you want to reuse the same shape, just copy and duplicate it. Right now I want to align those two objects. I want them to be in the center of each other. So I'm going to do that with the align panel. You see Pathfinder is also down there, but we're going to get to that later. I align both objects horizontally and vertically to make sure they're centered. Right now I'm just cutting up the rectangle so I can see if I want the rectangle to be on the top or the bottom of my finished logo. So I use a cut tool. I dissected it right in the middle and I have two rectangles. Nah. I think I like the rectangle at the bottom, so I'm going to use that. Once again, I'm going to select both objects because I'm going to be manipulating both objects. And now I think it's time that we use the Pathfinder tool. So the Pathfinder tool is basically, it takes the outline of the objects or the paths of the objects and combine them. It combines them or cuts certain sections out. And here are 4 options, and I'm going to select some of the options just so you can see the effects of each Pathfinder tool. That was the intersection Pathfinder tool. This is a combined Pathfinder tool. And the next Pathfinder tool I'm going to use is, it actually cuts out what's over the the layer on the top to actually cut out SAV because it's on the top. But for this logo, we're going to go with the intersection. Once you're confident that the image or the object is in the shape that you want it to be, we can then add imagery into the object. So to do that, we use something called a clipping mask. So the clipping mask basically takes that image that you're using, and in that image, it only shows that shape. If that's a little bit difficult to understand, I'm going to show you what that is right now. So for the image that I'm using, I decided to go with the backdrop of Savannah's River Street with the river and the historic buildings in the back. I mean, the object that I'm using says SAV, so what better logo than to actually use an image of Savannah? You will see when I tried to do a clipping mask on the image, it didn't work. This is because when you're combining the clipping mask or creating a clipping mask, the vector or objects you have to use is actually one object. You can't make a clipping mask with more than one object. So you see the SAV, that group, each one of those black sections is an object. What we have to do is make it into one object. We're going to go to combine path and make that into one object. We need one object, one image. So as you can see, the arrow from that group has disappeared. It's not multiple objects anymore. It's not a group. It's one object. Now we can go back to the clipping mask and try it again. All right, this time it worked. It looked like we got a logo, looked like we got a little something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another rectangle because I need something as a background or a border. Now, since this image is not rasterized, it's not one image, it's not one object, it's not a rectangle. It doesn't have borders. So I can't create a background or outline as a rectangle. So to do that, I created a rectangle. Went and ordered it like I showed you previously, but now I need it bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to path. I have to find path. And I'm going to go to offset path. Offset path is simply adding a specific width border around it. And for this border, I'm going to go to 25. You can see the rectangle increased by the same amount on all edges. So after I got that, I'm going to change the fill color of that rectangle to transparent because we want this to be an overlay or a logo or however you want to be, but we want it to be optional as an overlay. And an overlay is simply something with a transparent background. So we're going to go to stroke. Stroke is the outline of the shape. And we're going to give that a value. Once we give that a value, we can change the color of that stroke. Here I'm going to change that to black. As you might have noticed that everything I do, it starts off as black. That's just because black is easier to see. If I want to see how wide something is, I want to manipulate something is, I want to make sure it's right with black. So after I got the appropriate thickness of this outline, now I'm going to change the color. I want the color to be something similar or closely related to imagery. So I changed this to tan. And right now, what I'm doing is adding another color as a background so you can see that the logo is in fact transparent. Once you have the logo how you want it, you can go nuts with the background, play with the application, play with the apps, and make it yours. Do what you want. Yeah, we got our logo right now. I'm sizing up the artboard. The artboard is basically the boundaries of the image when you save it. So I'm putting the artboard to the art right now, and I'm exporting it as a PNG. PNG is a type of image file if you don't know that. We're going to select the artboard because we don't want that big rectangle, that big radial rectangle. We just want what we worked on, the boundary. Now, when you do this, you can make it a white background. You can make it a black background, transparent background. Save it as all of that because you might need all of it. So right now, I'm just going to save it as a transparent background. But that's it for that logo. All right, now we're moving into a more difficult type of logo, a logo using an actual image of me. You know, I see all y'all females, you know, with y'all lash company, y'all hair company, and y'all using y'all face and all that. And y'all want to know how to make this logo? I'm gonna show y'all how to do it. So first, I'm gonna hop into Autodesk Sketchbook. I'm gonna get the image of me. And right now what I'm doing is, that's actually not me drawing a white line. That's actually me erasing a border around my image. So when I erase this border around my image, I can select everything else and delete it. I made a transparent background, pop back to Adobe Illustrator. I'm just cleaning the image up, deleting everything else that I didn't get in Sketchbook. So I'm creating a circle. All the principles is the same principles as the last logo I made. But here, for my image and my circle, I'm gonna duplicate them because I'm need them. I'm cutting one of the images of me because I need the hand to stick out on the side, but I don't need my body to stick out on the side. And I need a circle as a background. So what I actually did in this video is, one of the images of me in one of the circles, I used the clipping mask on that. When I did that clipping mask, it put my body or my image inside that circle, and everything else that wasn't in that circle got deleted. This is why I duplicated my image and the circle, because I needed part of my body outside of the circle. So that image that I cut into 2 pieces. I cut into one of the pieces that I wanted outside of the circle and the piece that I didn't want outside of the circle. This way I deleted the piece I didn't want in the outside, and it only left the piece that I wanted. I also duplicated the circle because when I did the clipping mask, it deleted the circle, but the background was still transparent. So when I showed the duplicated circle, it's showing through. I rasterized all that into one image so I couldn't manipulate it anymore. Everything moves together. It's just one image, and that's how I created the logo. So if you had problems understanding anything in this video, run it back. Look through all the points that I mentioned: rasterization, clipping mask, pathfinder, image tracing. Go back, look at all that, learn that, try again until you get good at it. But basically it's just these 4 things. Once you learn these 4 things, you should be good at making logos. You won't need my help. You don't need to watch this video. You can go ahead and teach somebody else. But yeah, that's it for this video. Until next video, y'all be easy.